Hey everybody, welcome to the Scented Dark Fragrance channel. Thank you so much for being here. You've come to the right place for everything fragrance related, fragrance news, fragrance reviews, and learning all about fragrances. So today we'll be doing a video just for the ladies. And again, I know this is kind of a controversial topic. This is a list of perhaps particularly popular and hyped fragrances that perhaps we shouldn't go and blind buy. So again, I'm not hating on these fragrances, but let's not waste any time. Let's jump straight into the video. Top 10 best fragrances not to blind buy for the ladies, just for you. So guys, don't be afraid of this video. This is a great list. If you're concerned about perhaps buying a gift for your, partner, for your mother, whoever it might be. So let's jump into this video. So the first we have on the list is Pink Sugar. Now, I think a lot of people in the community know about this fragrance, and even people outside of the fragrance community know about this fragrance. It's a really kind of top-selling fragrance for just an average, everyday lady kind of fragrance. It sells very well, kind of like Paris Hilton fragrances. Us in the fragrance community would kind of, not like this fragrance for multiple reasons, such as it doesn't smell particularly natural. It doesn't have the best performance. The longevity is okay, but the fragrance it doesn't have a balanced composition, you might say. It's kind of chaotic in how it smells. So this fragrance is really beloved because it's simply very sweet, it's easy to wear, and it's very affordable. And the name is really easy to grab a hold of. You're going to smell like cotton candy, pink sugar, So I suggest you don't blind buy this fragrance because there's so many other great fragrances out there. This is perhaps the only fragrance in the list I'm going to suggest that you don't just buy. Perhaps in general, if you're looking for a casual fragrance or a gift for a very young, like a niece, anywhere from ages, 10 to 15 perhaps, I think Pink Sugar could be a good fragrance. But anybody who is getting a more discerned nose, or would like a fragrance with personality, I think Pink Sugar isn't really going to do the job. So let's jump into the rest of the fragrances. I have much more positive opinions overall of them. Let's jump to number 2. Let's talk about Light Blue by Dolce & Gabbana. Now we know that this is a very, popular fragrance. It's very, sells very well for a good reason. It's very easy to like. It's a light, citrusy fragrance. It's bright. It kind of is invigorating, playful, almost sporty in a way. The fragrance isn't the most natural perhaps, but it still smells great, especially in the air. And the performance is average or even slightly above average. I would say the projection, though, is not the best. But overall, this is a pretty good fragrance. I suggest you don't blind buy this one because, like many of these fragrances, you can find them at the mall. You could buy a sample, but this one is probably so easy to get a sniff of. And when you go to the mall, you can even test it. You can put on a couple sprays, however many you want, and wear the fragrance for a day. Get your opinion of it. Put some on your wrist and smell it throughout the day. Perhaps ask somebody like your partner or whoever you really care about, and ask them what they think about the fragrance. And perhaps that could influence you in deciding if you want to buy the fragrance. Now, you could blind buy many of these fragrances just because they're very well selling and they're great fragrances. A lot of people do blind buy them, but I think it's best to, wear what you love and buy what you love. So again, that's what this video is all about. So let's jump to number 3. Number 3 is Chanel number 5. Now again, like I said about Dior Sauvage in my video for men, I'm not hating on this fragrance. This is a top-selling fragrance. This is a great fragrance. And this fragrance is probably going to go down in the Fragrance Hall of Fame for a very good reason. But this fragrance, to a lot of women, and to I think a lot of people in general, is going to smell a little bit outdated, but the fragrance is still classy. It's still a great fragrance overall. You can't deny that this changed the fragrance game and did a lot of good for the fragrance game. just like fragrances like Dior Fahrenheit back in the day. So that's Chanel's number 5. I think that you could test out fragrances, and for a younger lady especially, unless you want a very classy, perhaps business fragrance, I think that you could find a fragrance that appeals more to your personality and is much more wearable for you personally. But that's just my opinion. You might love Chanel number 5, bright yellow florals and aldehydes, but do your thing, ladies. Let's jump to the next one. Let's jump to YSL's Black Opium. Now this fragrance might shock y'all. If y'all watch my videos, y'all might know that I love this fragrance, and I certainly do. I think it's a magnetic fragrance. I think it's an excellent fragrance for women. It's has kind of a dark floral vibe, has a little bit of earthiness to it. It's sweet, kind of leaning more on the gourmand side, but has a little bit, certainly has more complexity. It's smooth. It has a little bit of that burning tar-ish note of Mugler fragrances in a way. And I really do recommend it for a date fragrance, perhaps for a middle-aged lady. But I don't recommend you blind buy this fragrance because it's more on the gourmand side. Some ladies and some people don't like to smell that way. And this fragrance, if you blind buy it, might not be for you. Also, it's not a bright, playful fragrance, perhaps like Chloe, if you are really used to bright florals. And perhaps more youthful fragrances are more light and playful. I think this fragrance definitely is more on the date side, more on the seductive side, and it's definitely a different departure from what you might be used to. So I recommend, sampling it at the mall, of course. And this one is really available too. It's just about everywhere, and there's some great flankers, so you could check those out as well. So let's jump to the next video, ladies. Let's not waste any more time. This is Mugler Angel. And Angel is a classic fragrance. I think it was perhaps the first fragrance for Mugler, and it was a bestseller for a good reason. I think that you shouldn't blind buy this fragrance because it's beastly. It's a very strong fragrance with a lot of personality. A lot of ladies like lighter fragrances, and a lot of ladies don't want fragrances that can potentially offend other people because of, not only because of how they smell, but because of their performance. And this one has both of those. This one has the classic Mugler tar note, that dark, kind of burning, almost plasticky smell, a rubber smell going on, and it projects. And boy, does it have performance. Even today, and I hear the vintage was even stronger. So Angel is still it's still a great fragrance. It still sells very well, and you might just fall in love with it. But I know that it's offended people before, and some ladies have been very cautious when wearing it, or when they really got into it, they really disliked it. So I'd recommend that you get, a sample of it. This one might not be so easy to find at your mall. So you can get a sample and then see if you really like this unique fragrance. It definitely is a good fragrance, got the performance, got the quality, and for the price, it's a good fragrance overall. So let's jump to the next one, number 4, and this is Vera Wang Princess. So this fragrance gets not a lot of hype in the community per se, but outside of the community, it's actually a fairly well-selling fragrance, and it's because it's a very approachable fragrance. It's very easy to wear. It's pretty easy to like, so it's mass appealing. It's inoffensive. It's a good woman's fragrance overall. But in the fragrance world, if you're watching this video, you probably love fragrances, and you probably are looking for something different. You're probably trying to find something that expresses your personality, or perhaps is a really standout fragrance. I feel like this fragrance simply just doesn't do it. If you were to get a fragrance that, doesn't adventure or isn't out of the norm perhaps, and has excellent fragrance, there's a number of them. Mugler Angel Muse, Lancome's La Vie Belle is another one. It's a great fragrance that doesn't, take perhaps a lot of risks. So there's fragrances like that out there. That's just my opinion on Vera Wang Princess. But let's jump to number 3. This is Dior J'adore. Now, J'adore is one of the best-selling women's fragrances. I know it is. And again, I don't hate this fragrance. I think this fragrance is classy. I think it's floral. I think it's bright. It's perhaps a little citrusy, but it's great for a business lady. It's great for everyday wear. I just think that this fragrance doesn't have the uniqueness or a lot of personality like some people perhaps think it does. It does have a little bit of an aldehydic feel to it, but the fragrance overall just doesn't have a lot of personality. It doesn't have a lot of oomph, I guess you could say. I think that you can find fragrances out there with much more personality and that can suit you. It's fine to have a good everyday fragrance, especially a good business fragrance for a lady. So it's perfect for that. But if you want a fragrance for everyday wear with more personality that speaks to you, again, I think you can find more out there. So I encourage you to do that. And forgive me. And that's just my opinion, of course. Let's jump to number 2. This is Tom Ford's Santal Blush. So this fragrance, some of you might not have ever heard of it before. It kind of gets suggested as a really good fragrance, and it really is. It's a wonderful sandalwood fragrance, and it doesn't seem to project too much. It seems to be kind of a ghost of a fragrance. It's hard to smell after a certain point in time, but overall, it does last a good amount of time. But the problem with this fragrance really is the price. I think it's easy enough to like and love. Sandalwood, I think overall is an easy to love note overall. But Santal Blush is just pricey, and if you were to blind buy this one because of some people here and there who really love it, you might get disappointed because this fragrance really is more of a personal fragrance. It's more of a date fragrance. It's more of a fragrance that is more for, somebody who really likes niche fragrances. I don't think it's really gonna have a strong personality per se behind it, and it certainly isn't very womanly per se. It's not a manly fragrance, but it really doesn't have any of those characteristics that might help you feel youthful or pretty or any of those things you might like, ladies. This one is just very easygoing. It's kind of like wearing a second skin, and that's just my opinion of it, of course. Get out there and test it for yourself. But there's, very good fragrances that do the same. There's Juliet Has a Gun, Oil Fiction, and there's a number of other ones like Costume National's Nude and the other flankers of that fragrance. So let's jump to my number 1. It might be shocking, but let's get it done. I mean, no offense from any of these fragrances, of course, or of them. This is Clinique's Happy. So some of y'all might dislike this video because of that, but I'm standing by it because this fragrance simply just doesn't have the performance. This fragrance is a youthful citrus fragrance. It has a little bit of that citrus and almost a little bit of sweetness in a way, but the fragrance is youthful, it is playful, but the fragrance just doesn't have very much performance to it. Some people say they get 4 hours, some people claim 5. I think it really is more of a 3-hour fragrance, really. And for overall with a fragrance, if it doesn't do 4 hours, I think the fragrance is really struggling, and the projection really isn't very strong to begin with. So what I'm going to do is suggest another fragrance. Clinique Happy is kind of getting hard to find. I'm not sure if it's discontinued, but it might be. So I'm going to suggest a wonderful fragrance that gives you a much more beautiful smell, a much more natural smell. It's very happy. It's very tropical, and it lasts about 5 hours or so. It's Pomelo Paradis by Atelier. Now I know that if you smell that fragrance, ladies, that it's going to put a smile on your face if you like tropical fragrances, if you like fragrances that are a little bit more fruity, if you like fragrances that are just lovely summer fragrances. So I really suggest that one. So expect reviews coming up from some of these fragrances, from our wonderful samples, and etc., etc. But thank you, ladies, and thank you, everybody, for supporting me in this channel. If you've stuck around this long, why not subscribe? Why not like this video? Hit that notification bell. Comment in the in the comments below. Let me know if you like this video, what you think about this topic. I don't mean to cause controversy in any way. This is just my opinion. And guys and gals, thank you so much for watching the Scentadar Fragrance channel. I really do appreciate you. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye.